Hi, everyone. We'll start today's session. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I'm Cam Al-Gossaini. I'm the Regional Vice President for Coupa in the Middle East, and I will be moderating today's session. Let me start by setting the stage for today's discussion. Supply chain disruption is not an exception. And what we find out is that companies that navigate these challenges most effectively are not the ones that can avoid the disruption. In reality, they just have better visibility, better control over their supply chain networks. They are able to react quickly to these challenges, and they use technology to turn data into actionable decisions. And building resilient supply chain was never easy. It requires investment in processes, in people, in collaborating with suppliers, in digital capabilities to be able to anticipate these risks and react better. So I want to start by a simple definition of supply chain resiliency, a definition that if you go online, you will find a lot of definitions, but this one I really like a lot because it has something to what we see today. Is when we talk about this definition, it talks about the ability for companies to be prepared for unexpected events, respond and recover quickly from these potential challenges. And it says about being able to return to their original situation or grow to a new, more desirable state. And this is where I want to take a couple of seconds to focus on. When we talk about resiliency, it's not only about going back to where we were in the past. It's more about to find new ways of doing business and growing into new ways of operating. And here I want to give an example of Carrefour. And it happens that Carrefour in the Middle East is owned by Majid Al-Futtaim and Amina with us today. But Carrefour, before COVID, at least in the Middle East, they did very little online deliveries. Their online platform, actually, it catered for non-food items. Today, Carrefour is able to deliver everywhere in the UAE, at least, in 60 minutes. So just think of this, that the disruption that is caused this COVID have forced the companies to go into focusing onto a more digital platform, better delivery, and being able to create logistics hub across the Middle East to support this capabilities. So in today's discussion, we will focus into three key dimensions. We will ask our panelists and try to understand more the immediate impact of the current supply disruption. We will look at lessons learned from previous global events like COVID, Suez Canal, and the Ukraine conflict, and see what we can learn from that. And at the end, we'll ask our panelists to provide us some practical strategies and that they have deployed that have helped them manage the uncertainty. So without further ado, I want to also welcome our panelists and ask each one of them to briefly introduce themselves and share how they currently see supply chain disruption manifesting at their organization and in their area of expertise. Amina, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Cam, and hi everyone. Very happy to be part of this panel today. So as Cam mentioned, I'm part of Majid Al-Futtaim group. I started 3 months ago, actually based in Dubai, and previously I worked across different regions, Europe and Asia, mainly for FMCG companies. Majid Al-Futtaim is a retail and real estate local group. We operate in more than 15 countries, and we basically import everything that goes into our shelves. And our real estate business depends heavily on global supply lines. So for us, resilience is not just a strategic concept, it's what we do daily. And this topic is very relevant for us.
Thank you, Amina. Komar from Deloitte.
Thank you, Cam. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Very quickly, I'm Kumar Singla. I'm a partner with Deloitte Middle East. Overall, 22 years of experience driving procurement and supply chain transformation across the region and in the Middle East. It's an absolute pleasure. And I think if I could comment on the way we, as Deloitte, see the situation and also the recent conflicts, right? So I think what we are realizing is globally over these past years, supply chains have become more complex. They have become more interconnected. And the reason for that was always cost efficiencies, right? So 20 years ago, 25 years ago, low cost country sourcing was the peak, was at its peak. And you could see that now suddenly you have a very integrated supply chains with supplies coming from across the world for most of the global corporations. Now, what that means is in today's scenario where we are seeing a lot of disruptions which are not only temporary but sometimes we realize that they are becoming more permanent, right? The regionalization, the protectionism which is happening across the world, that basically means that now the supply chains of today and tomorrow, they need to be more resilient, and the supply chain resilience, as Amina rightly said, has to be the core component of their operating model. That's what we are seeing, and we'll talk about more in the coming minutes.
Thank you, Kumar. Noman from SCP.
Hello, everyone, and pleasure to be part of this session. And it's an interesting thing that I'm on the other side of this thing. Usually, I'm conducting the webinars, and I have the seat that Cam is holding right now. I'm based out of Saudi, and I'm the founder and CEO of Supply Chain Talks. We are a supply chain consultancy company, which I started approximately now 6 years back. And we focus on supply chain and logistics in that area. So we are into advisory consultancy. We are into talent building, capacity building. We are into digital transformation consultancy and solution. And we are definitely a proud partner of Coupa in this region as well. Apart from this, we also have our own couple of AI products as well, which are now in the market. So this is what we are. And the good thing, when you're talking about resilience and when we are talking about what has happened in the past year, I see a little different that chaos and has always been there in one form, in one shape or the other. It always has been there. But yes, COVID basically put the extraordinary limelight or big floodlights onto supply chain, and we became a global phenomenon. We became globally important. But I think it is also coupled up by the role of digitization and how we were able to harness the power of digitization and move the world along with these crises as well. So definitely resilience in nowadays as supply chain professionals, it's part and parcel of what we do on a daily basis. And with the digitization that is around us and how we are harnessing that energy and that power to move things around, that is important. And with that, what I am also seeing, and the encouragement part is that AI is now becoming the center of conversations across every boardroom right now. So which is very encouraging. So that's from me.
Thank you all for the introduction. I just want to add something crossed my mind. COVID had only one benefit for me as a logistician. It put supply chain back into the spotlight, and companies start realizing that supply chain is a core competency and not nice to have. So this is only one benefit of COVID I crossed my mind. I want to go back to Amina. And as you said, Amina, MAF operates across a vast footprint of retail infrastructure. The current volatility, how is this affecting your team moving beyond just risk management to more into actively mitigating the cost, the trade lines, the shortages? Can you tell us a little bit what you're dealing with every day?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we have been obviously in the heart of everything happening, being based in the UAE. But we have been able to react quite fast, right? So, and I think we have been both buffering and also shifting some of the sourcing lanes, which has helped us to ensure less supply disruption. The positive side of things is, or from COVID or the previous disruptions that have been mentioned, is that we already diversified our supply base and supply chain, bringing it much more local, right? So whenever we had options for Carrefour, for example, on some of the fresh produce or other goods, instead of bringing it from Europe or Far East, we have been qualifying more closer suppliers within the region, Turkey, Egypt, GCC, which is supporting in terms of having goods closer to our location. We have extended safety stock whenever possible, but we have not done this as let's say a blanket hoarding. We've done this really on key categories and trying to have a strategic approach.
Great. Thank you very much. And I see that this could be also a benefit for the region because everything is locally sourced. So companies or countries that have been impacted through Amina, does this apply?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it helps as well with the customer also needs, right? I think customers also value a lot, the local economy and having something which is maybe a perception of having a fresher product, right, than one that's transited for months. And obviously, it's supporting also the local economy. So I think this is positive and supports on many ends.
Great. Thank you. I want to go back to Noman. And as you said, you have extensive experience in the Saudi market. And when we look at Saudi and the Vision 2030 and their focus on supply chain, do you think the Saudi model is ready for the supply chain resiliency and how they are handling the current volatility in the market?
I would put it this way that in the current scenario, Saudi has been impacted, but I live in Jeddah, and my colleagues or my friends living in Dammam and Riyadh say that people in Jeddah like us don't even know what is happening in the region. We have no idea what is happening. We are kind of safe and away from that. But yes, things have changed. Obviously, with all these crises coming up, with the movement restricted. The other day we were on a webinar with someone from Merck's Sea Line as well, and she basically mentioned that the trade lines have been disrupted not because the shipping lines have stopped. It was actually because the insurance coverage got put on hold. So without the insurance, no shipping line was willing to do. It was not the shipping lines who put everything on hold. It was the non-availability of insurance coverage. So just imagine that it is not directly what you can see it is causing the disruption, but maybe something else which is happening at the background. And when you talk about Vision 2030, digitization, resilience, circular economy, all of these things are the cornerstones of Vision 2030. Logistics is at the heart of it. And but Saudi market, yes, it is ready. It is moving in the right direction. When you make the conversation, when you're talking with board members, when you're talking with the C-suites, and everybody is now focusing on how we can use data, the power of data to build in resilience. How can we create more visibility? How can we go towards supply diversification, as Amina is saying? How we can do local sourcing? How can we do, all these things? So this is happening. And more companies are moving towards looking into how AI, as I was saying earlier in my introduction, that AI has now become a center topic of all discussions. That AI trainings are happening in companies. AI, just right now, a friend of mine, he is a doctor in one of the main hospitals. They are in a 1-week workshop on AI for the healthcare business. So AI, everywhere AI is stepping into. So yes, from that perspective, Saudi Arabia is well right on par. Vision 2030 is supporting every initiative which is happening right now. So thanks.
Great, thank you. Komar, you advise C-levels in your work every day in the Middle East. And these C-suite are facing a perfect storm of rising costs, routes uncertainty. We heard a lot. So is there an incremental fix or do they need to redesign their operating model? So if you wear your consultant hat today, and what can you tell us?
Sure, thank you for the question, Cam. And I think, to be very honest, the way we visualize and Deloitte within the supply chain network operations, we have more than 5,000 consultants across the world. And we do sit with the C-suites and try to understand what is happening and how we could help their agenda, right? And how do they navigate these disruptions? So what I'm realizing and what I'm seeing, in today's scenario, I don't think an incremental improvement is going to help anymore. I think some of these disruptions are becoming more frequent in nature. I think if we look back, COVID happened in 1920, and then within the last 5 years, we have seen multiple unfortunate wars which have impacted our region, and that requires a complete reconfiguration of supply chains. I'll give you an example which I was reading as part of the study which we did recently from Deloitte. So there are a lot of companies who have great visibility on their tier 1 suppliers, who directly supply to them, but very less visibility on their tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers. Now, if we look at some of the top 100 global corporations, when we did an analysis, we found an interesting theme that these 100 global corporations with multi-billion-dollar revenues, spread across automotive, defense, and other sectors, have 1,800 plus tier 2 vendor relationships in the region. And what that means is, during this war, there is one supplier, which is a tier 2 supplier, LG Chem, which supplies to tier 1 suppliers of some of these multi-billion-dollar corporations. Now, when the war started, the LG Chem could not source naphtha from the region, and then it had to stop supplying its chemical, which is DOTP, which basically impacted the supplies in US, etc., for their own, automotive suppliers, etc. So unless you bring that visibility, unless you relook at your supply chain, and also you have the backbone of clean data, as Noman was saying, right? Unless you have the clean data, there is no AI, right? So I think as part of what we are advising, you have to look at it holistically and reconfigure your operating model. That's the theme we are seeing, to be very honest.
No, thank you, Kumar. And the data topic is very big. I try to stay away from AI. We'll talk about it a little bit, but because it's a big topic by itself and there is a lot to talk about. But, I want to get some learnings from Amina. During COVID, you were managing complex procurement strategies in the European market. Do you think that this Middle East volatility compares to the disruption that you saw during COVID? Are you using the same playbook, or the Middle East is different? What can you tell us?
Yeah, thank you, Cam. I think that the tools we're using are similar, right? We're looking into multi-sourcing, scenario planning, supplier financial health, linking contracts to certain indices. So I think it's we're reacting somehow the same way, but I think that the playbook is different, right? Because I think here what we see in the Middle East is it's first a problem of really a geography, right? Problem. I mean, we're having one corridor which is going through a shock. So the difficulty here is making sure that we find alternative routes, not necessarily suppliers. You can have as many suppliers as you want, but if they do not, transit through Hormuz, there is no way you'll get your goods, right? So I think this is where we're reassessing also how we're looking at resilience into more root level resilience model. And I think, and Kumar mentioned this very well, I think the supplier base visibility is where we need to improve, right? So many other companies, I think, have a better visibility on their tier 2, tier 3. And I think this is where we need to also start building that depth. So
thank you. I want to, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think just getting my thoughts together, I think these are the key points. I think another maybe advantage here in the region is what was mentioned also by Noman, is like the pace of the policy, right? So the Vision 2030, UAE has also very strong logistics agenda, and I think that will be supporting also the region.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also the investment that has been done in the recent years in supply chain, logistics, and so on, we can see that it's playing to the favor of the region, regardless of what's happening. And This helps a lot. And the GCC by itself, the open borders, the transit of goods, Jabal Ali, all of this is contributing to the success. Komar, I want to ask you a similar question because I was reading on your LinkedIn and you also did multiple transformation projects in Europe and North America before building the landscape in the Middle East. When you look at supply chain processes in the region compared to what you've seen in the West, do you see that we're in the right direction? Do you have any recommendations that will help the Middle East be ready for the future?
Yeah, I think, again, very good question, Cam. I think when I look at the progress we are seeing in the Middle East, right, across GCC, I think over the last few years, there is a lot of investment happening on having clean data set. We have multiple ERP programs going on so that there is a backbone of data. And I think most of the organizations across region have been going through those transformation where you have ERPs getting implemented, cloud-based models, and those come with their own good best practice process templates, and then of course get aligned with the context of the industry, etc. Right. So I don't think the region is very far from where we see some of the other organizations across the world. And I think what I believe is the next step for our region is to use this investment in the platforms like ERP and all to now relook at their processes from AI nativity, right? So it's basically, instead of automating your processes or sometimes the processes are broken, you look at the process from an AI native lens. And I think that is what I'm seeing a lot in the conversations with clients. And that is very exciting because customers are asking that instead of automating step A in process step of 10 or creating an agent here, could we do something where we have this agentic AI at the center of everything, and then you redesign my process and also leverage what is coming from the ERPs, etc. And that's a very powerful story. And sometimes when I sit on the EMEA leadership team for Deloitte within SCNO, when I talk to my colleagues in Europe, they say, oh, this is very new, this is very fantastic what we are hearing from what is happening in this region. So I think there is a lot we are doing which is sometimes ahead of what others are doing across the world.
No, thank you. But we see this the same. Like a couple of years ago, everyone was talking about process automation, processing the invoice. Now, business AI, talking about AI, chatbot, Navi. And now with Coupa releasing AI agent and agent studio, we see everyone is looking in this direction. I want to use these agents as soon as possible. But Noman, you mentioned something that's very close to my heart. You talked about circular economy, and we know supply chain contributes, unfortunately, to 70% of the global carbon footprint. What I worry today is when you see today we're responding in an emergency response to this uncertainty. Are we still keeping this circular economy and carbon footprint into consideration?
See, yes. Human nature is that when things go bad, you try to find the shortcut. Fine, and going green is never a shortcut. So it has to be. So, but the bigger organization, the organization that shall last, they will always be, the future winners would always be that who achieve both the areas of resilience, addressing to these crises, and the green objective or the sustainability together when they combine both of them. So it is important. It's not a good feel kind of a scenario. I'm trying to do green, and now it has to be part of your business motto. It has to be part of your workflow. So go green is important. See, as I mentioned, that the challenge is that during these disruptions, organizations always revert to the shortcuts, the short-term survival mode. They overstock, shift to expensive emergency transportation, air shipment starts happening, less than truckload starts moving in because I need to cater to that. And what Amina said that, in the initial part, that even though that they are facing these crises, but they are ensuring that they are using the right channels, they are activating other channels as well. So this is where that your green hat always need to be there, even in scenarios of crisis. Fine. And as you mentioned that, yes, circular supply chain or circular economy is very close to us. We are right now at SCT, we are building an AI enabled circular inventory intelligence system right now, which basically supports organizations to identify and to also help them, how would I put it, liquidate their inventory obsolescence across anything. So this is what we are building right now, a completely AI intelligence circular economy solution right now. So yes, so this is what we are also trying to educate the companies, that resilience and sustainability can definitely go in hand, and it has to be part of your processes. And I will just add to one more thing, a little diverging from the question, what Kumar earlier said, that how he is seeing the ERPs being done and everything, the clean data and all that. I usually, when I'm talking in sessions, I'm talking to the boardrooms, I always say, yes, digital transformation is good, but for me, that is step number 3, always. Find the step number 1 is the people. So that the 3 Ps, the people, the process, and then the product. You need to invest in people, you need to build the capabilities, you need to have them, because they will build the right processes. Once the right processes are built, then only you can go for the transformation, then you can choose the right product for your organization, what will help you enable to do that transformation. So I just wanted to add 2 cents to what Kumar was saying, just to strengthen his position. Thank you.
Thank you. And here I want to ask, I'll start with Kumar, then Amina, the same question. Do you think the people are ready today with AI, what's coming? Every day we hear a new tool, and I'm sure the new tools are for the best to allow us. So, and if we can relate this to the resiliency and being able to do the job better, how far are we, or from a people, from a skill set?
Yeah, what I'm seeing, like when I work with the governments and private institutes across the region, I see all the leaders, right? They are very much invested in training their people. So there is a big investment happening on the AI front. I think if we even look at some of the federal mandates, right, 50% processes or to be done by agentic AI, it won't happen unless you have people trained on it, right? So I think there is a clear investment from the wider community on ensuring that the people are trained to use the latest tools and they are part of it. So I think from what I'm seeing, yes, there is a lot of investments in that space. Of course, it also goes back to the individual as well, right? How much he or she invests in his or her own learning. I think that second part. But if I ask people around, from what I'm seeing, I see that there is a definite investment from organizations, government institutions on the people agenda.
Great. Amina, do you want to add on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think for procurement organizations, we've been talking a lot about the future-ready teams and the skills required, right, to cope with all the disruption. And so I think we need to upskill our people. I don't think that AI will completely replace the supplier relationship, the business partnering, the judgment. But it's going to be a key enabler for procurement, and especially to bring all that resilience that we need. So it's going to be key to bring the people on board. I mean, as Noman said, right, you need the people first to be able to have the right process. So I think upskilling our people around how they can use AI, how they can be much more efficient is going to be key.
If I may add, Cam,
please,
I would like
ahead.
to, please, sorry. Amina, I really like what you said, that AI and these tools will not replace the supply relationships. I totally agree with you. That human element can never be replaced, because that trust, that human element is there. And I just want to add one thing, that the role of AI from my perspective, or even transformation of digital tools, is to help organizations move their people from a transactional role to a strategic role. Fine. So the tools are not to replace anyone, but to elevate them, to amplify their functions. So I just wanted to add this over here.
No, very true and very valid. And I think this is in line. And what I was reading is like, don't ask what AI can do with you, ask what you can do with AI. And this is exactly in line. So people who use AI will replace people who don't use AI.
Correct.
It's not about AI replacing the people. It's more for us to take advantage of this technology that we have and use it. And here I cannot but ask you, I mean, first I want to thank you joining from the UK. You're a judge at the World Procurement Congress, and I'm sure AI resiliency, I know it's the first day and you just got there, but please, if you can tell us, share with us anything that you heard today or based on your interaction.
Yeah, so I think it's the start of the World Procurement Congress, and the themes are AI and resilience. So I think we're going to have very interesting discussions. And as you said, Cam, I think AI is at the center of all the conversations that we're having. And for me, the big change is, I think last year, or it was more on, whether we test, and what it means to, like, how fast can we go? So I think now we're really seeing that AI can help procurement in many ways around the spend intelligence, around the supplier risk monitoring, around the demand and lead time forecasting. I think these are really key areas where AI can bring visibility on all the risks, right, that procurement needs to mitigate. And so we're going to be having good conversations in the coming days. But I think for us at MAF, something that's going to be critical is really this end-to-end visibility. Beyond, the physical goods, right? Even within technology has its own supply chain, right? So you have like the components, you have the sub-suppliers, and not getting visibility enough will not allow us to, cope with the disruptions.
No, thank you. And the term digital twin comes into play, that we've been talking about it for a very long time, and it becomes more and more important today.
Absolutely.
Komar, I want to ask you, since you have a lot of experience with technology platform, including Coupa and others, how much of this resiliency and what we're talking about today could be automated to move away from, I would like to say, firefighting to more proactive management of the supply chain?
Sure. In my view, I think this definitely can, the decision intelligence can definitely replace manual ways of interventions. Definitely, I think that is the future, and a lot of organizations have made good progress on that. And to do that, there are certain building blocks, right? So having access to the right clean data set, and then having an AI engine which is able to sense any disruption before it happens, because there is a lot of sensors, a lot of data that can feed that kind of trigger. Second, ability to automate analysis of that. So you get a disruption and you get signal, then what does it mean and what is the impact? And then able to take automated decisions. I think that's the full cycle, right? So that is where these decision intelligence, are taking place, and we are seeing a lot of platforms, including Coupa, helping in that way, right? For example, recommending and sometimes even executing change in suppliers, creating a purchase orders, or even changing the route. If one port is blocked, immediately triggering, sourcing from, or the change in route to another port, right? So I think that is what is becoming more and more, at least in certain organizations, we are seeing the ask from the head of organizations to have that level of intelligence available for them to make decision, instead of, because unless we do concurrent planning, unless, you could see the impact of these changes immediately, it is very difficult to recover from the, the impact of these disruptions.
Absolutely. And I want to go back to Noman, because he mentioned AI multiple times. And what crossed my mind is, I always get asked is, where do we start with AI? Can you give us from your experience what you see? Where, if you have a company today looking at AI in procurement, where should they start? How do they identify that this process I should use AI or the other process?
See, the first thing about AI, how I started using AI, I started using AI in helping me understand things. That when you talk about procurement, what are the needs? What are how the need identification, clarifying the need identification. That if, for example, even if an RFQ needs to be sent, you can use AI to clean your RFQ as well. That to draft a better RFQ, in the sense that so that when a vendor receives an RFQ, he has everything available. You do ideally you do not leave it to the that to a buyer, that how he sees an RFQ, he has good English or bad English, or or he's unable to communicate all the purchase guidelines. Did he mention the payment terms? Did he mention the Incoterms in the RFQ or not? So it is all about that how you want to use AI. AI usage can be as simple crafting the right message to a supplier as an email, helping you Claude or ChatGPT to draft you a good email, an RFQ email, or basically asking AI to even read the shipping documents that are coming in. Was the right HS code used? Using AI to read the packing list and checking that the right HS codes are used in that or not, and identifying and then sending it back to you, rather than looking into the data and everything. So it's all about how you want to use AI. AI, as I said, so it can be as simple as drafting a simple email, or using it for much more complex. That there was a query that came to me some time back. A friend asked me, Noman, do you know who can supply this specific raw material within Saudi Arabia? And I was surprised that why is he not opening ChatGPT and asking ChatGPT about it? And I simply put that query into ChatGPT. It gave me anybody who's actually manufacturing or who's importing that in one form or the other, and it provided me the addresses, the contact emails, the telephone numbers, and anything that was available on the internet. And I asked then ChatGPT to convert it into a Excel format. I downloaded the Excel and sent it over WhatsApp. Even supplier identification, because there's so much of data available, you cannot Google everything. Now, for me, my Google is integrated with ChatGPT. So anything I Google, it first go to ChatGPT, then it comes to me. So it's all about how you want to use AI.
No, absolutely. And I want to go back to Amina. If you had to, and putting on your procurement leader hat, if you identify one change that procurement leaders have to make permanent or fix, rather than just like nice to have, can you identify one thing on top of your mind?
Yeah, it's only one, right? Not two. No, look, I think in the context of this discussion around resilience, I think for procurement, again, it means end-to-end visibility. And it's not always easy to do, right? Because for many organizations, it means dedicating the right effort and sometimes cost as well, right, to do that. But I think the investment is really, worth it. And I think it's also about making the procurement team and maybe, I don't know, some of the operation team, depending on the organization, but making these functions measured against resilience, right? Because we talk a lot about the value procurement brings, and we assess the teams around cost avoidance and savings, etc. But I think resilience deserves its own scorecard. So I think this is what I would see as something that will support bringing much more, resilience into our operations.
Thank you, Amina. Kumar, back to you. And if you're sitting in a boardroom today with the CEO, who's very worried about being competitive with the shipping cost that's impacting them, is there any structural change that you would have them or authorize today to equip their organization to be more resilient and survive this wave?
Yeah, I think typically some of these things, right? So if I'm in a room where they are facing challenges because their costs have gone down or gone up, shipping costs have gone up, right? So I think there are two or three things, right? One is a permanent change, right? So having to relook at your operating model and also to relook at your sources of supplies, as Amina was saying, right? So what is your, localization? What are you buying from local producers versus outside? And also having that clear lens of your critical categories in terms of, well, sometimes you realize that that level of analysis, what are my critical goods and supplies, and then having that clear strategy around those, what is my level of safety stock, etc., should be there so that you could overcome some of these things in future. So I think that is an activity which they would have to do. Second, in my eyes, whenever the costs go up in a situation like that, you still want to make sure that you manage your profitability because it impacts your EBITDA, and then you also don't want to move all the cost impact in terms of price change to your customers. So that basically means that there is always a need to relook at your direct and indirect costs. And some at times, if you haven't done that holistic study over last 2 3 years, then there is a need to do that, because often I've seen that there are certain pockets sitting in either direct or indirect costs which are not very efficient, and you could always release some of those costs and reuse them for your some of the other initiatives, whether it is marketing, sales, or instead of passing it on to customer, you could absorb some of the cost escalations. That would be a twofold strategy in my eyes.
No, absolutely. I can't agree more. And I think today, and I started this by defining supply chain resiliency, is really to open our eyes to think outside the box. It's not always, many times we focus that where we were and we try to go back to where we were. But in reality, things are changing. And I think most of you have said that challenges are getting more. The customer behavior is changing. Technology is coming. AI, e-commerce, everything is changing the way we behave. So we need to be resilient to be able to move, and rather than just going back to where we were every time we get ahead. So we need to learn and unlearn, if I could say. Okay, Noman, I want to ask you, you have experience with pharmaceutical, cold chain, and different large-scale industrial organizations, and maybe Sanofi is one of them. If there is one thing you want to share with the CEO today about the one hard-earned lesson, what would it be?
It's a very interesting question at a very interesting time. Just this morning, I was talking with someone from the pharma distribution sector for a next project, consulting scope. So again, the discussion was around that with this, what is happening, they want to have an independent view of what is happening for them, their footprint in Saudi Arabia, and what they can do to strengthen their presence in the kingdom. So, with the disruptions, what is happening is that disruptions will always be there. They are part and parcel of supply chain. One form or the other, something will happen. If today's Strait of Hormuz opens up again, tomorrow something else might happen in other part of the global, because now we are working in global supply chain. Something which is happening in Ukraine is affecting some in South Africa as well, in Australia as well. Something which is happening in the US is affecting China. So it's a global supply chain. So at the end of the day, from a pharmaceutical or cold chain perspective, right now, the resilience needs to be there. The visibility, again, as I said earlier, is important. That from the perspective that do you have the visibility of your chains, of your, what Kumar was saying, that it's not just about your first tier suppliers anymore. It's about your second tiers and third tier suppliers as well. And unfortunately, what is happening is that this cannot be managed in the traditional way anymore. So you need digital solutions like Coupa, who can manage that relationship, who can identify those bottlenecks before they actually happen. And this is what my advice to C-suites, to these would be there, that if you want to scale up, the first thing that you need to invest, apart from the people in the process, is in the right tool. And if you do not have the right procurement strategy available with you, you will never be able to have the right material, the right things at the right place at any time. So that is very important. So investment in these technologies, in these capabilities is very important. That visibility, that opportunity that you lose by not investing will cause you much bigger losses than the savings that you might say that I can delay this investment. So I would always push for investments in transformation in the right manner, in the right tool, in the right direction.
No, absolutely. I also want to remind the audience that you have a chance to ask a question on the Q&A. So this is a chance if you want to write your question in the Q&A as we go through the remaining almost 12 minutes remaining. Okay, do we have a question? So I will read it. Which business model is more effective for a new entrant in the MENA logistics and supply chain industry? A traditional asset-based model or a hybrid model that combines digital technology, strategic partnership, and flexible operations? Please discuss the advantage, challenges, scalability, cost efficiency, and long-term sustainability of both approaches in the regional market. I hope we have a full time to answer all the things, but if any of you from the panelists would like to take this question, let me know. I can also provide my input. So
happy to respond.
Go ahead, Kumar.
As well. I think from my experience, right? So I think if you are a new entrant in logistics and supply chain industry, it makes sense to not be very asset heavy. It makes sense to have local partnerships because you want to manage your P&L over a period of time. I think hybrid model in my eyes makes sense. And that also allows you a bit of a flexibility. So having a local partner with sizable experience in the market would always be helpful instead of trying to do it alone. I think that would be my 2 cents. And of course, the advantages here are if you partner with a local company which is already established, you get access to clients, you get access to skills and resources. And of course, it is better in terms of cost efficiency. Of course, you also don't have the same level of control based on the ownership you have in the joint venture or the partnership which you are having. But at the same time, you optimize your risks as a new organization when you are entering the new market.
Okay, we have another question. Noman, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'll just add to what Kumar was saying, and an example comes to mind, which is kind of, I will just take the procurement aspect of it. I came across a very good terminology with the hybrid perspective, localization. When you are doing a hybrid, you can have the global capabilities hybrided with the local capabilities, and you have the very win-win scenario. So you understand the local market. So localization is a terminology that has to be there in all business models that have the global perspective and the local partner and the local understanding.
Absolutely. I want to ask a separate question to Amina that came in the chat. It's very interesting, and I think Carl is asking, are we in danger of treating resiliency as a technology problem when the bigger issue is managing behavior? And he asks, as most companies can see the risk once it is in front of them. The harder question is how we get organization, particularly in the region, to accept the cost of mitigating before the event proves the need. What are the practical mechanisms that actually change the behavior, not just principle we think should change?
I mean, it's a very relevant question. And again, I think it's going to be part of a strategic discussion that we need to have with our chief supply chain officer, our CFOs, our CEOs, right? Building a resilient supply chain and supply base means investing, right? So yes, it's investing time, it's investing effort, and it is sometimes very difficult as well, right? Because again, Hormuz has shown us that when there is only one route, there is only one route, right? So I think these are like discussions that need to happen early. I don't know, in any budget cycle of an organization. What we need to do is to be able to quantify the ROI, right, of like this multi-sourcing and having more local approaches. but it's not the most comfortable discussions that you can have as procurement with your CFO. So my invitation is to be able to again quantify the benefits in terms of speed, in terms of cost as well. But it's not the most again straightforward discussion. Unfortunately, I'm struggling myself.
I would really like Kumar's feedback on this, because I think this is what you do every day when you talk to C-level, is where they should invest their money. Is it and the cost of doing nothing?
Yeah, I think it's a bit complicated, right? As Amina said, right? So Strait of Hormuz, the situation is not a normal issue, right? It's a very different, unique problem. So you definitely need to find alternate sourcing. You definitely need alternate routes, etc. But some of these are structural changes, right? Which are handled at a very different level in the countries, right? So I think that's not a problem specific to a retail organization or one of the institutes. So I think it's a more strategic discussion and decision point at a much higher level. That's my 2 cents. And second, I think there was a question on which you asked, and I think, is there a danger of treating resilience as a technology problem? I think that's a very fair question, right? So definitely, in my eyes, resilience is not a technology problem. I think technology is an enabler here, right? So you need to have the backbone, the base in place for you to be resilient. Technology will enable that. So technology will only help you, or you can go to this vendor, but that strategy, the thinking has to use that technology. Unless that thinking and that strategic mindset hasn't been applied, technology is not going to be able to do a lot. So it's definitely an enabler, not really the only problem solver in my eyes.
Very good. We have a question.
To add just on what Kumar said, because I think it's going to be really an operating model change. And back to the point I think we all spoke about, which is the capability of the people, right? I think we can have the right technology, but then we need to make sure that the people are equipped to trust the technology, to drive the decision or insights technology will give them, right? So I think it's also for the leadership, I don't know, in procurement or any other function within supply chain, to really invest on what it is required to build the competencies for the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to add here to what Kumar was saying, that Strait of Hormuz, the crisis happened and everything. But I would like to just highlight one point. Strait of Hormuz crisis is not a unique thing that happened. Before Strait of Hormuz, we had the Red Sea crisis. Before that, we had the Suez Canal crisis. Before that, we had the container shortages crisis as well. So we are having a similar crisis. It's just that the location, the Ukraine-Russia war crisis. So we are having similar crisis, but the locations are changing. Because we are a part of a global supply chain, this is why every crisis is affecting everyone right now. So I just wanted to add this over here. And another thing that I have felt, which earlier Cam also said, that COVID made supply chain big floodlights on supply chain, and we became suddenly the centerpiece of every conversation, every boardroom, and everything. We got the seat on the boards, and we were the CPOs and the CSCOs. They were part of every conversation, and they still are today. So what I see is that supply chain professionals like all of us, we have the capacity and the capability to create a Mozart level symphony in this chaos which is happening around us. This is what supply chain does. We are able to take this chaos and do wonders around it.
We're running out of time. We have 4 minutes. I want to keep 2 minutes for closing, but there is a very interesting question from Stuart, and I would like one of you, please volunteer and answer it. So Stuart is asking, from a UAE and Asia market perspective, how are organizations particularly balancing supplier diversification, regional resiliency, and AI-driven visibility without creating additional cost and operational complexity? any feedback. If not, we can go back to Stuart and send it in an email. But I would like, if any would like to take their view on this.
I mean, I think for me, I answered part of that in some of my earlier points, right? I think there may be some additional costs because you need to onboard new suppliers, because you need to diversify, right? But net, the benefit may, outweigh this additional cost. So my invitation is really to look at that end to end, right? And to see, I would say, the bigger picture, because there are like much better or bigger benefits into diversifying the supply base and the supply chain. So I think we're maybe missing that visibility at the moment where we start. But in the longer term, there are clearly benefits into securing different, again, routes, suppliers, options.
Thank you, Amina. Well, there is a question from Sudhir we don't have time to take, but I promise you we'll communicate with Kumar and get back to you on this. Amina, I'll stay with you. And looking ahead, if you can name one superpower that supply chain of 2030 must possess to strive in this region, what it is, and you think, and if we can build it fast enough?
I think it's actually about the pace and really the speed or the velocity at scale. I think this is what we need to have, and that will help us to succeed. I think it's also moving from the inventory and how much stock you have, and to really looking into beyond the physical goods, right? What I mentioned before, the technology as well. So I think this is what will help us to be the successful supply chain for 2030. So it's around, I think, the speed at scale. That's what I think.
Thank you, Amina. Noman, can you name one superpower?
Yes. So for me, thank you. Great inputs. I learned a lot today. So for me, when we talk about superpower, for me, it's not visibility. It's part of it. It's not automation. But what I see as a superpower is that it's the ability to sense the disruption early on, simulate multiple scenarios, and respond automatically to and as what Amina said, at speed. So for me, speed, visibility, automation is part of the superpower. So for me, the superpower would be predictive adaptability of the supply chain. So that would be the superpower for me. And I think we can build it. And actually, we are, with what is happening around us, with what we all doing, we are building this capability right now.
Thank you. Kumar, we have 20 seconds for you.
So I'll make it easy. For me, it is resilience. I think if you have resilience, then it means that you have automation. It means you have, your supply secure, you have visibility. All of that is just covered under one word. That would be my 2 cents.
I want to thank you, our incredible panelists. I can't get enough. We can keep talking for hours, but this was very insightful, and I hope that also our attendees find it helpful. I want to thank the attendees as well for their time and engagement today, and stay resilient, and we will do more of these sessions, and looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Cam, for organizing it. Thank you, Amina, Noman. It was excellent discussion. And thank you for everyone who attended it. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Cam, for the opportunity.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Amina, bye-bye.